Your website should clearly communicate who you are and what you do, and it should guide visitors towards specific actions like joining your email list or downloading your latest podcast episode. I'm Amy Porterfield, ex-corporate girl turned CEO of a multi-seven-figure business. But it wasn't all that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the budget, and the time to focus on growing my small but mighty business. Fast forward past many failed attempts and lessons learned, and you'll see the business I have today. One that changes lives and gives me more freedom than I ever thought possible. One that used to only exist as a daydream. I created the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're an ambitious entrepreneur or one in the making who's looking to create a business that makes an impact and a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started. Well, hey there, Amy Porterfield here, and welcome to another episode of Online Marketing Made Easy. When you talk about building online businesses and the importance of having an email list as much as I do on this podcast, you get asked one question a lot. And that question is, Amy, can't I just rely on social media channels when building my business? Like, isn't that enough? And today I'm here to set the record straight once and for all with an official answer for you. And that answer is a hard no. While social media is important, it's not enough. You absolutely need your own online presence in the form of a website. Unlike a Facebook page or an Instagram account or a YouTube channel, a website is yours to control. Social media platforms are great for outreach, but their policies, algorithms, and guidelines can change overnight. This puts you at risk of losing your content and leaving your community unsure of where to find you online. A website, on the other hand, is a stable central hub that you can completely control. I like to think of a website as your digital business card and the spot where potential customers can get a real feel for what it's like to work with you. Essentially, your website should clearly communicate who you are and what you do, and it should guide visitors towards specific actions like joining your email list or downloading your latest podcast episode. And to really highlight the importance of having a website in your business, I thought it might be fun to use my brand new refreshed website as an example. So I just relaunched a refreshed website. It doesn't look dramatically different, but we've made some really cool updates to make it better in terms of a higher converting website, a more engaging website. So we used a new platform to do this. And I really can't wait to take you behind the scenes and tell you about the process today. Now, you may have already seen the refreshed website, but if you haven't, pop on over to amyporterfield.com and take a look. Now, I want to pause here and say that while having a website for your business is important, you do not need one to start making progress on selling your products or services. Many of my students and my peers have built wildly successful businesses and email lists using just landing pages at the beginning. As you grow, having a full website becomes an important tool to add to your business, but it's not necessary to start your business. Remember, start simple, get fancy later. So don't let the lack of a website stop you from taking action, especially when it comes to building your email list. Just know that as you grow, you'll want to invest in a full website. Now, my favorite platform is Showit. We used it for my book launch and we're using it for the refresh of my website. And I think it's a perfect platform for beginners, especially because it's easy to use. It's more of a drag and drop software. So you don't need a coder to figure it out. But I've been in business 15 years and I moved over to Showit because I loved it that much. Like I said, we used it in my book launch. I've mentioned that on the podcast before. We used Showit for my book launch, all the pages for my launch. And we loved it so much. We thought we're moving our whole website over to Showit. So I'll go over just how accessible this platform is in this episode. I'm also going to break down my website refresh process, sharing exactly what I did, where I spent my money, and why I made this transition. So, whether you're just starting and building a website for the first time or looking to improve your current website, I've got tips and insights in this episode to help you make a great first impression with your visitors and to help you avoid some of the mistakes that I've made along the way. So, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's start with a little history of my website. If you've been following my journey for a while, then you know that my first website was, well, let's say it wasn't winning any design awards. In fact, chapter 6 of my book, 2 Weeks Notice, is even titled The Ugliest Website on the Internet. And let me tell you, my friend, I wasn't kidding. So my website started with a gray header, my name in black with a white shadow behind it, riveting, and graphics that I created using PowerPoint. But here's the kicker. Even with that eyesore of a website, I was able to build a multi-million-dollar business and a top-ranked podcast. Because of this success, I've always had the mindset that when it comes to websites, function trumps form and beauty. Stay with me here. My mind has changed, but stay with me here. My website might have been ugly, but at the time it worked for my customers. It was functional and I felt like that mattered the most. So I didn't change it for a really long time. And I continued to use WordPress, which is a popular website building platform, for my quote, ugly website for years and years. As my company and my brand grew, I knew I wanted a better website, but it was hard for me to create one myself since I didn't have any coding or creative skills. I had to rely on a developer to help me custom code everything as I moved toward a more polished and branded design. The process of working with a contracted developer outside of my team, not efficient. What this looked like was that my graphic designer, Missy, would design a page exactly how we'd like it to look, and then she had to hand it over to a developer to create the real page. Then after it's developed, Missy, my designer, would have to review it again. This was a process that could take 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, you heard me right. However, over the last few years, I started to notice something. My peers were launching these super beautiful websites. And it wasn't just my peers. So many different brands were coming out with these highly functional websites that were also stunning. And they were launching them really fast. Like, how did you get your website up so quickly? That's what I would ask people. So it got me thinking that maybe I didn't need to be stuck in the mindset that function had to trump beauty and that a website had to take huge amounts of time to get up and running. So I started talking with some of my peers and I learned they were using templates from a site called Tonic. And then they were adding those templates from Tonic to their website, and their website was built on a platform called Showit. So that's how I became interested in switching to a Showit website. And I'm so glad I made the switch because with Showit, my graphic designer, Missy, can now create things like checkout pages on the fly, like during our promotions, or she can thoughtfully design and publish a new homepage for the site itself, skipping the development part of our old process. So if you're a one woman or a one man show and you're listening, this is for you. You can do this on your own. First, I want you to check out this really great site full of beautiful templates. So amyporterfield.com/tonic. And then from there, Tonic will encourage you to use Showit, which is the platform that I use instead of WordPress. So first go to Tonic, check out what they have. You're going to fall in love with some of their templates and they're all customizable. So you'd be amazed how much you could change one of those templates to perfectly match your brand. Best thing I ever did. And truly, this has cut out new page creation time. It's like cut it down so much. And that's a game changer for me and my team. And if you know me, you know I'm all about efficiency and saving time, especially since we work a 4-day work week. We do not have time to spend like 4 weeks on a project. We got to get it done faster. So this has allowed us to do that. Speaking of a 4-day work week, it's so important to align all of our projects with one of my team's core values, which is intentional margin. So whenever I make a decision in my business, like undertaking a huge project such as redesigning our website, I like to make sure that it aligns with my core values. So when I say intentional margin, what I mean is that we have downtime. So we work hard, but we play hard as well. So if I'm bogging down my team with something that's taking us a really long time, the 4-day work week starts to slip away. So I have to be extra careful. So I love how Show It fits perfectly with this core value because it saved us so much time, not to mention the money of a developer. Now that you have a history of my website, next, let me share the main goals I had in mind for my website redesign. First, I wanted to generate more organic traffic to my site. Second, I wanted to drive more downloads to the podcast, while also creating a better user experience for all the free content that I offer. And third, I wanted a stronger focus on growing my email list. So this redesign was all about ensuring our website not only looks amazing, but also works hard to support these key goals. And these are big goals because they all focus on getting more people to my site, capturing their emails with valuable free content, and building my email list. And when I build my email list, I know I'm increasing my revenue potential. I always say it, your email list is directly tied to your revenue. And so when you do your email list right, you're going to make more money. So that ultimately is part of our big goal. Looking at these goals, I expected this project to be a pretty time-consuming and costly project, especially considering its potential to significantly boost my business revenue over the years. But let me tell you, it's been way easier and cheaper than expected. So if you're just starting to build your website or you want a brand new website, but you want to do it in the most cost efficient and quick way possible, I 100% recommend you first go to Tonic, amyporterfield.com/tonic, check out all their templates, and then build these templates into Show It, which is the website platform. Show It ranges from $19 to $34 a month. Super cheap. So you can learn all about it at amyporterfield.com/show it. So Tonic and Show It, you can't go wrong. Now, this also means you don't need to hire a special graphic designer and spend time going back and forth to get this just right. The combination of Tonic templates and the Show It platform makes the process smooth and efficient. And today, my dear friend, Jen Olmstead, who's the lead designer and co-founder of Tonic Templates, is going to pop into this episode to explain a few things about the power of website design, especially when you're just starting out. So if you're multitasking, come back to me because this is a little extra special. I actually didn't interview her. I had her record her own little mini episode here inside of this episode because I wanted you to hear from an expert who knows website design. And she is one of the best of the best. So here you go.
Honestly, I think in this day and age of the internet, there's really no reason you can't have a website you love. And in my opinion, there's no excuse not to. No matter what industry you're in, today's consumer makes decisions for almost every aspect of their life based on branding and marketing. So if you have two options, we're always going to go with the option that has better marketing and branding and better reviews. We expect our local bagel shop to have a decent website. We assume anyone on the internet is going to have a good one, especially if you're a reputable, competent business. So that's why I think it's such a great thing that the internet has changed. And 10 years ago, if you wanted a great website, you had to invest $25,000 in your firstborn child to hire a designer. But now templates are no longer a dirty word. A template is just a huge head start that allows you to kind of envision the end result. And so that's where we came in because when it was around 2013 when we got started and we were like, hey, what if template wasn't just you settling for something else? What if template was actually a great thing that you could take something and make it your own at a price you can afford? And so if you're out there and you're struggling with your website, I just have to say the internet is full of beautiful designs and templates that you you can use and keep it simple and make your own. You don't have to start this extremely complicated website process and then build a giant website and then decide that it doesn't fit you a few years later and redo it again. What the beauty of a template is that you can buy it and tweak it and customize it and continue doing so year after year so that your website is always a reflection of your business goals. One thing we're so proud of when it comes to our templates is that we build them with the same kind of strategy that we use and put in sites like yours and Jenna Kutcher's and Boss Babes and so many of the other like expensive custom design websites that we've done. We're putting all of that same strategy and customization and wow factor into each one of our templates. And so the most common thing we hear is, wow, I can't believe this is the template. I can't believe I'm able to get these kind of results from a website that cost me under $1,500. So I think if you've been putting off that website design or overhaul because ain't nobody got time for that, and you're not sure where to start, or you're not sure where the end result's going to be, my advice as your self-appointed designer wingwoman is a website that you feel confident in, that you want people to actually visit, that you can constantly make edits to, that you can afford right now. That's the kind of website that you need in your business. And that's where I think templates can be so helpful. So I've seen websites change the game for businesses over again. I believe that it can be the jet fuel and the rocket power that you need to transform your business and take it to the next level. So if you have any questions about Tonic website templates, just let me and my team know. We're super available. You can find us at tonicsiteshop.com and on social media at tonicsiteshop. We would definitely love to hear from you. The reason I think Tonic templates are so great for entrepreneurs or beginners or someone who's getting started, or maybe you're thinking of getting a website and you're not happy with your current one, is because it's so easy to just drag and drop in your content. And I think a lot of people feel so overwhelmed by the website process. And that's one of the common things that we hear from clientele all the time is, wow, I just bought a template and I'm having so much fun doing my website, which is not something that most people normally say. So when you buy a Tonic template, you're going to get tutorials and resources to help you get started. I write all of the body copy so that you have an idea of what to write and what to put where. It has beautiful custom fonts that are already included. And so it's really just this giant head start that's going to keep you focused on actually hitting the goals that you need to in your website instead of feeling limited by the fact that you don't have a website that supports you. So I think that that's why templates can be such a great starter point for anyone who's just like, oh, I know that I need a website, but man, when am I going to have time to do that? I'm so busy running my business. So I think that that's a great fit for so many entrepreneurs who are getting started. So one of the things that we often hear is like, okay, sure, you have great templates, but really I need to have a custom designer do my website. If I want it to be any good, it has to be custom designed. And I think you're going to be surprised to hear that so many of the top entrepreneurs in the industry these days are using templates. And it's not just because they're less expensive. It's also because it allows you to go, okay, I want something like this, and then not have to wait 6 months or a year for a site to be custom designed for you. You can save a ton of money, by the way, with starting with a template, and you can always hire a designer to help make tweaks that you wouldn't know how to do yourself. In fact, we have an entire directory of designers that we trust where we can just hook you up so that you can customize your template further. But I think it's a mistake to believe like, oh man, I'm not going to be legit until I have a custom designer. Really, the internet has changed and we're all using templates for everything. We're using templates for social media, for videos, for Canva. And I think in general, we're living in a culture where you're able to take a template and make it your own so much easier than ever before.
So good, right? I hope that helped you see how using templates and the design principles Jen spoke about can make it so easy to get your website up and running, attract potential customers, and get your brand out there. Now, I want to shift gears from design to talk about the content of your website just a little. And so you don't have to overwhelm yourself with complicated site maps for now. I suggest you focus on these 3 essential pages: your homepage, your about page, and your blog page. And when I say blog page, it could be for podcast show notes, it could be for your video show, but we just call it a blog page, which is your weekly original content, essentially. So I'm going to quickly go through each of these sections so you know what to include and how to create this in the best way possible for your website. So first up, your homepage. It's the front door to your online world where potential customers will most often land. You want to make it inviting and use it to capture visitors' attention. So tell visitors about the problem you're solving, who you're serving, and how you're helping them achieve their goals. And if you're listening to this podcast, you know what I'm going to say next, right? Always be thinking about blank on this page. Did you say list building? Because that's the answer. You always want to be thinking about list building on your homepage. So make extra sure your homepage has a spot where you offer your lead magnet in exchange for a visitor's email address to build your email list. Now, next up, your about page. Ooh, I love a good about page. This should be a space dedicated to telling your story. This is where potential customers can learn who you are, why you do what you do, and whether you're the right person to guide them. Now, when I talk about an about page, this is my favorite question to ask yourself. Does the customer care? Because sure, you can tell your whole story and go on, but if there is no value for the potential customer, they're not going to care. So the secret here is to make your about page where you're telling your own story engaging to somebody who you would be a great fit for. You talk about the things that they would be most interested in related to your own story. So just after you write your about page, ask yourself, will the customer care? I think that's one of my most favorite questions. All right. So you're using your about page to, again, build connection with your visitors and just really also show off your personality. I love our about page. So if you want an example, go to amyporterfield.com, go to the about page on my new redesigned website, and just to get a few ideas of what yours might look like as well. All right. And then last, your blog page, which, as I mentioned, it's more than just a blog. It's where you house your content. So whether you write blogs or articles, or if you podcast or you have videos, you need a main page to organize and direct traffic to your content. So a well-maintained blog page helps people find you easily online when they're searching for what you have to offer. So if you go to my website and you go to my podcast page, you'll see it's kind of like a homepage for my website. And then from there, you can click on individual episodes, and that's where you'll land on my show notes for each episode. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. Now, since one of the most important functions of your website is to communicate what your business is all about and what sets it apart, you'll want to focus on creating compelling copy on each of these pages. So with that said, your website's text should be concise and persuasive and easy to read. So when writing the copy on my site, I applied the StoryBrand framework, and I highly recommend this approach for your own copy. So StoryBrand focuses on having fewer calls to action, streamlining the visitor's journey, and making it easy for a visitor to understand what you offer and how to get started. So this way, your website not only looks great, but also effectively drives engagement and ultimately conversions. So if you're not familiar with StoryBrand, I have a great episode you can just take a listen to. It's episode 576, and it's called How to Scale Your Business Using the StoryBrand Framework. So amyporterfield.com/576. Essentially, you want to make sure that all of your copy reflects your message clearly. And if writing it isn't your strong suit, one place I would suggest you consider spending a little money is hiring a copywriter. Now, speaking of spending a little money, I promised in the introduction to share what I invested in. So if you're just starting out, I wouldn't recommend hiring the next two people that I'm going to mention. Focus on setting up and launching the basics of the 3 pages we just talked about first. So that's where I want you to focus. I want you to go to Tonic, grab a template, you show it because it's so freaking easy, and then focus on your homepage, your about page, and your blog page, which will then lead to your weekly original content. So once you start making a bit of money, you can build out and optimize your site further. But to do what I just said, very inexpensive. However, if you're a bit further along and you have an established website with some extra budget, I found great value in hiring a user experience specialist and an SEO expert. So, from the user experience specialist, I learned some great tips about making my website easier to use and more accessible. So, I want to share just a couple right now. I focused on 4 key areas to improve my website for everyone who visits. First, I added image titles and alt text so that people who can't see the images can still understand what's on the page. Next, I used proper heading tags like H1, H2, and H3 to keep my content organized, which helps people who use screen readers navigate the site more easily. Now, I also chose high contrast colors and clear fonts to ensure everyone can read and understand the content, even if they have vision challenges. And then finally, I added written transcripts for all my audio and video content, making it accessible to people who can't hear and helping more people find and use the information. So these changes are all about making sure my website is easy to use and accessible for everyone. Now, next, I brought in an SEO expert, which stands for search engine optimization, to help optimize my site for better searchability online. So SEO is all about improving your website so it ranks higher in search engine results, making it easier for people to find you online. So I want to give you a few simple changes that I made based on their advice that you can use for your own website. Now, first, I have to say this is a little bit more technical than I usually get on the podcast, but stick with me because it's useful to know, even if you're not ready to implement it yet. And before I get into this, I want to say, I wish I took SEO more seriously early on. I spent a lot of money on paid ads from the day I started my business. And so SEO wasn't totally necessary because I was already getting some great traffic with ads. But I regret that because 1, SEO is a whole lot cheaper than paid ads. And 2, I think we should be doing both equally. So I just wish I took SEO way more seriously than I did in the beginning. Also, I recently recorded a podcast episode that's coming out with Kate Korsmeyer, and she literally left social media and she grew her business by 165% well off of social media. And one of her big strategies for doing that is her SEO. So her SEO was strong enough and in place early enough that it was working for her, even though she wasn't posting on social media. So if that's not a good argument to use SEO more, I don't know what is. Okay, so back to a little bit techie here, but I want you to just hear me out. For each page on my website, I made sure to have one main heading, and that's known as an H1 tag, so I could tell Google what the page was about. Then I used H2 tags and H3 tags to keep content organized and help search engines understand the page better. So H2 and H3 tags are subheadings that break down the content into sections and subsections, making it easier for both visitors and search engines to navigate the page. So once you get in there and you start using some of these tools I'm recommending, you'll see the options for H1, H2, H3. So I know that might sound very foreign to some of you. I just want you to hear it for the first time. And then when you actually see it in action, you'll understand it more. Now, let's talk about images and how they're important to pay attention to on your website because of page speed. So the speed of each page on your website affects how quickly Google displays your website to users, and large images can slow down your page. I switched to using a JPEG format for most images on my site because they load way faster. I now only use a PNG format for images that require something like a background. It's also important to name your image files descriptively and include keywords. So instead of a naming convention like IMG123, I now use something like desk with coffee. So that actually makes a big difference. So by making these changes, I improved my website's performance and made it easier for people to find me online. And hiring an SEO expert was worth it for me to get all of this in order across all of my pages. Because like I said, it was something that I never really focused on enough up until just a few years ago. So I wanted to invest in it because I knew I was behind. So if you have extra budget to spend, this is a great person to hire, an SEO expert, but it's absolutely not necessary for getting started. And if you don't have the money, but you want to get started, there's so much free content online that you can become self-taught to a certain extent. That is a great way to get started as well. So I love the idea of getting started with SEO early, and there's a lot of free tools out there that can help you. Now, this brings me to the last lesson learned and the final thing that I want to chat about, and that is to start small and scale later. With everything I changed from switching to Show It, to implementing StoryBrand copy, to working with consultants and experts, I tested things first. So for example, instead of switching everything to Show It right away, I had my designer create some checkout pages and some other key pages for specific launches we did just to see how they worked with my team. We tested them, we refined the process, and then we rolled it out completely. The same approach applied to the copy changes. We didn't overhaul everything at once. We did a few pages, iterated, and moved on from there once we saw what worked well. And if you're thinking of bringing on consultants or outside help for special projects like an SEO expert, I suggest you give them a small project first to ensure they meet your expectations and deliver the work you want. Once you're confident in their abilities, you can increase their responsibilities. What I wouldn't go out and do is hire someone for a 6-month project for SEO and you've never worked with them before. You might not like working with them. You might not like their work. So let's do a little mini test before we lay down that cold, hard cash for experts in our business. So again, start small, test things out, and then from there, you can start to scale and go bigger. All right, my friend, we've made it to the end of the episode. I hope you found value in understanding the history of my website, why I did a refresh, and how tools like Show It and Tonic templates and a focus on creating compelling copy can make it easier than ever to get your website out into the world. If you want to look into using either of the tools we spoke about today, simply go to amyporterfield.com/tonic and amyporterfield.com/show it. And I'll include both of those links in the show notes. And remember, this is an ever-evolving project for your business. If you take a walk down memory lane to episode 160 of this podcast, which aired in 2017, you'll see it was titled Behind the Scenes of My Website Redesign. So this isn't the first redesign I've been through, and it won't be the last. That's the beauty of an online business. As you grow, you can make changes and improvements. It's just part of the process. And finally, I want to leave you with a little mindset reset. Remember that it's normal to feel nervous about launching a website and putting yourself out there. Just getting ready to start is so scary, but that's the key. Think about how far you can go from an imperfect beginning, like my journey from an ugly first website to a multi-million-dollar business. Every entrepreneur starts somewhere, and your journey starts now. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye for now.